And you need to defend yourself all the time. As you may heard, I file a few lawsuits, and I'm in the court now because they accuse me of doing stuff that I never did in my life, and they wrote lies, and I will not allow that. I will fight till the end because I don't want that they damage my reputation and my name.
The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth and when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're an honest scum.
A $500 million lawsuit from First Lady Melania Trump that makes no sense has turned daytime TV upside down, and Greg Gutfeld isn't going to let it go. With his incisive wit and constant sarcasm, he breaks down Sunny Hostin's polished facade, showing how empty her virtue signaling and overplayed outrage are. This roast isn't simply amusing, it's a comic destruction of elite hypocrisy. As the courtroom drama gets more intense, Gutfeld delivers the punchlines cold. It's evident that the talk show spotlight has turned into a legal interrogation light.
I think she hates him.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so we can all
That's a
agree on
given.
that. That's a given. I also think that she wants to take him out. She does not want to be the first lady anymore.
They agree with you.
She doesn't want to be the first lady. She destroyed the Rose Garden. Who hates Christmas? Melania Trump hates Christmas. She doesn't want to decorate for Christmas. She doesn't want to have anything to do with him. She doesn't want to sleep in the same room with him. She can't tolerate him.
Allegedly.
And she does.
Yeah, how do you know all this?
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't know all this.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses.
That night, Greg Gutfeld strode into his studio like a man who had just found a golden ticket, but it wasn't for a chocolate factory. It was for a roast that had almost written itself. Melania Trump, the current First Lady of the United States, had recently filed a $500 million lawsuit against Sunny Hostin. Gutfeld looked like a child on Christmas morning. He didn't need a monologue writer for this one. The entire situation was a slow-pitch softball simply begging to be rocketed into the hilarious stratosphere.
Reserved Melania Trump is furious. The woman who wants to be First Lady is taking on several media outlets that she says printed false reports about her personal life. Now Melania is threatening to sue. Les Trent has the latest.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in Sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice.
He started with that devilish grin that says he's going to take a blowtorch to someone's public image and toast it to a lovely golden crisp. Gutfeld thought that was all silly. Sunny, seated high atop her moral mountain on daytime television, had finally said one thing too many. And Melania, frequently described as silent and subdued, had responded not with words, but with a $500 million, 0-cents lawsuit that hit like a freight train into a Hallmark set.
Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Europe. Here's how she took the news. Roll it.
Wow. I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Greg didn't hold back. He defined Sunny as the kind of commentator who confuses conviction with volume, someone who feels that raising your voice and cutting off your co-hosts somehow makes you correct. Gutfeld reveled in exposing how her self-righteous crusade against the Trumps had finally backfired in spectacular fashion. He termed it karma in designer heels, stepping straight into a courtroom with a vengeance. He painted
So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
a vivid picture of Sunny hustling behind the scenes, attempting to pretend the case was no big problem even as her staff was undoubtedly Googling, "Can sass be used as a legal defense?" Gutfeld joked that her lawyers were presumably reading over old transcripts of The View, attempting to determine whatever provocative moment prompted the First Lady's legal nuclear.
Yeah, and then she bashes the company like they don't pay their workers.
Right.
You know, that's like, so she's still like one of them. You know, she's one of them. Yeah, but I give him extra money. She's so sweet, that Sunny. Paul, do you catch The View very often? Is it on your DVR?
Well, it's the view into what? Domestic hell?
Yeah.
I mean, what exactly is it a view into? And who came up with the names, if you think about it?
The irony, of course, was the finest part. For years, Sunny had positioned herself as the moral anchor of her daytime soapbox, the voice of reason amid a sea of turmoil. But now, chaos had her mailing address. Gutfeld couldn't help but point out that the lady who advocated accountability was suddenly allergic to it. The same lady who dissected every Trump headline with surgical cynicism was now the subject of a headline that made her look like she tripped over her own moral pedestal. And now, the silent one had shouted, and done it in a way that not only drew Sunny's attention but put half of Hollywood on notice. If words have consequences, then Sunny had just discovered what a $500 million consequence feels like.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction.
Then came the real roast. Gutfeld criticized the society that made Sunny a success, where insulting conservatives receives cheers and no penalties. But Melania's lawsuit? A wrecking ball to that false notion of immunity. Behind the scenes, it was all damage control. PR staff, phony grins, and spin. Sunny, who spent years insulting Melania, was suddenly playing the victim. But Gutfeld wasn't buying it. You can't cry foul when you've been the one hurling fists.
But maybe one day when we finally strip away this phony race war, it will finally expose this elite mentality. And we'll find out Sunny is just like Marie Antoinette, except she says, "Let me eat cake."
Gutfeld noted how Melania, distant from the media's standard portrayal, made a bold, deliberate move. She didn't rant. She didn't storm a set. She sued big time. And Gutfeld grinned, because that kind of quiet, planned strike was exactly what Sunny never saw coming. She thought she was shadowboxing, but Melania was in the ring with a legal right hook. Then Greg turned to the media, criticizing their typical spin. He understood Sunny's next move. Cry censorship, say she was speaking truth to power. But Gutfeld wasn't buying it. Insulting someone who never fights back isn't courage, it's arrogance. And repackaging scorn for applause? That's not bravery. That's simply the script.
It's about The View. It's like, it's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like, it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But
Gutfeld suggested Sunny's show would handle the case like a national disaster. Quiet tones and mournful music. Behind the scenes, panic, attorneys, and victim faces in the mirror. Activists would rally, calling it protecting journalism, but Gutfeld argued it's just character assassination. Now, Melania fired back with a $500 million lawsuit and a formidable legal team. When the cameras stop, being loud won't save Sunny. Outrage has a price, and it's real.
then I blame women, white women, white women in particular.
About time.
Right, Sunny?
I think that women, white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing, how their husbands are voting.
Take that, people who say she's racist. You forget that she's also sexist.
Gutfeld didn't simply trash Sunny. He demolished the whole act. The false fury, the arrogant conviction that it wasn't passion, it was an act. Now, the curtain's been peeled back, showing what responsibility truly feels like, a legal brief from the East Wing. He dubbed Melania's action a masterstroke. While critics criticized her, she studied the battleground, waited, and attacked. Not with noise, but with accuracy. That contrast made the roast exquisite. Sunny Hostin was taken down not by shouting or tweets, but by repercussions. Melania reversed the script, and Gutfeld was more than delighted to deliver every angry retort.
Toiletries, you could get fire logs. You know those big bounty towels you don't want to carry?
Those from Costco.
Somebody else goes.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable.
Just when you thought Gutfeld was done, he turned up the heat. He derided Sunny's hallmark style of dramatic pauses, phony erudition, and smugness cloaked in academic language. How she could transform a one-sentence query into a 5-minute morality lecture like a TED Talk at brunch. Now, such antics were entwined with legal worry. Gutfeld imagined Sunny backstage, trying to portray being sued by the First Lady as rebellion, not carelessness. But Gutfeld reminded everyone, a smile doesn't lessen venom. And now that venom had a price tag. He grinned, envisioning Melania's thought. Enough. Not with an outburst, not a press conference this time, but with a lawsuit.
This dame probably virtue signals on the toilet. But that's not the point here. While everybody else was trying to figure out how to survive as the government told us that breathing in public could kill us, Sunny was lolling around in her big house clicking on pictures of arugula while mixing Cocoa Puffs into her Haagen-Dazs.
But with quiet thought and a legal document that hit like a missile on a daytime chat show, it wasn't just power, it was grace wielded like a sword. Gutfeld imagined Sunny trying to heal with a staged interview, soft lighting, and talk of emotional repercussions. He scoffed. The real toll? Realizing applause doesn't work in court. Performative sympathy isn't a defense. When the lights dim, all that's left is someone who went too far and ultimately met pushback. Gutfeld ended with a smirk. This wasn't simply a lawsuit, it was a cultural reset. A reminder that even the loudest voices can be held accountable. And sometimes, justice doesn't yell.